Today on More Than Music, we have the topic, how does our marriage work?
So this is really in response to like a lot of people who have been asking, hey, you guys should do a podcast on your marriage, and what is it like working together, and how do you survive that? And we decided we were going to make a 1-minute podcast saying we don't.
Bye.
Just kidding. So we have a couple
That's
of
a good
things
one. That's a good one.
we'd like to share with you. We're not going to get super complicated about it. Hopefully some of these things can help people out there.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think we want to say that we believe that we're insanely privileged
Yeah.
to be able to work together and be married and share so much of our lives. I know personally for me, it's something I always wanted from life. And so I'm very grateful that I have that.
Yeah.
And that, our lives can intertwine in those ways, and, we can understand each other's worlds, and we can be a part of each other's worlds professionally and personally. So it's a real privilege, and it's a real gift.
It is a privilege.
But with that, obviously comes its challenges. And I do want to say we're definitely not experts on this, and I don't even want to pretend like we've figured it out and we've got the answers, because sometimes we don't get it right. So but we want to share a couple of things with you that we believe are really important,
That help us, that we've learned in the 8 years that we've been married. 8.5.
Yeah, we're going on a while. So the first thing we want to say is the most important thing for us in our personal lives with our marriage is to not sweat the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just mean if something's not a train smash, don't turn a molehill into a mountain. If something is actually not the end of the world, don't even mention it. Just relax. Don't make a big deal of something.
I have an interesting story. When we first got married, I remember one night brushing my teeth, and Pam was like, "No, what are you doing? You're gonna do this or you're gonna do that. You're gonna damage your teeth and this and that." And I was like, do my teeth look funny? She said no. I said, okay, well then I've been doing it like this my whole life, so I'm sure I'll be okay. And it was a funny thing. It seems stupid now, but in that moment there was a thing, and it was obviously Pam was reacting to the way I was doing an everyday small thing. So that's the kind of thing we made a joke of that. Like I teased her, like, what do you mean you're trying to tell me how to brush my teeth?
Yeah. Make jokes. Make jokes of everything bad that happens. That's how we survive.
You're going to tell me how to drive? Like, I've only been doing it for 15 years. So no, not even. But you're going to tell me how to drive? So make it funny.
You make light of things.
But don't sweat the small stuff.
Instead of making a big deal of something, make a joke of it, basically.
And connected to this idea is don't control and micromanage the small stuff. We have not graduated from this.
No.
Or should I say, I have not graduated from this. No, we haven't.
I think we have.
But anyway, bottom line, like, there's so much in life. Don't worry about things that have no consequence, because those things clatter up things of importance. Plus, there's only so much that a person will change once you marry them. Like, when you marry somebody, it's important to know, like, if they don't change or become anything other than this exact person right now, am I happy? Yes, I'm happy. Then you get married. You don't get married thinking it's cool. Once we're married, he or she will change and become more like this and that. Not fair, number one, and also probably not true. You've got to marry someone that you feel like this is the person, like just as you are, 100%, just like this. I'm happy. Yeah, that's kind of our next point is make a point like this is, well, if you're in a position where you can still make this decision and you're not married yet, you know, make sure you are happy with the worst side of a person.
That's also true.
If you
Yeah.
be sober about it. Like, I know romance is fantastic and everything, but take a moment, sit down and go, what's the worst thing about this person? What is the thing that drives me nuts? Imagine that not changing for the next 40 years or whatever, and then go, can I handle that?
Do I still want this?
Don't go, well, maybe I can change that about them. Forget
No.
it.
Can
I'm
you handle it?
I'm not
It's more the
saying
question.
you can't change it, but I feel like there's too much emphasis placed on people changing for each other. You know, if we're talking about something fundamentally flawed with someone's character or a problem, then try work through it together or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about,
The way they are.
yeah, like
That's
there's
just the way they
certain
are.
things, you know, personality differences
Yeah.
and you know, motivational differences, and be aware of those things and don't think one is better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
An example for us,
Different is better.
you
There's
wanted
no
to
such
talk
thing as
about
better, it's
my
just
social
different.
ability in this
Yeah.
in this example, you know.
For example, like I know that Ani is not the sort of person who just goes and makes friends with strangers. Like he's not that guy.
I'm socially not very strong.
He doesn't. He's not. That's
I'll
not who
admit
he is. That he wasn't that person when I married him, and he's never become more like that. He is 100% the way that he is. I bring that to the marriage. I bring that. I'm cool to just go and make friends with people I don't know. He's never been like that. But you know what? Oh, we were going to talk about it in this way. Make a fuss and keep your mind on who the person is rather than who they are not. So, for example, instead of me thinking, I wish Ani was more social, I wish that he would go and make friends with people more often and da 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 da. If I was thinking like that, then
And thinking she could change that about me.
yeah, and then thinking maybe if we do something else it would change. But instead of thinking that, I think about the fact that who he is, you know what, in a room full of people, if anything breaks, all eyes on Ani to fix it, to figure out what happened. And then he'll talk to as many strangers as he needs to, because then there's a purpose to it. So he's not shy. He's just like, I'm not going to be an extrovert about going and making friends, but I will talk to people I don't know when I've got something to say. And all eyes on Ani, let's fix the problem. That's who he is. I think about who he is, and I don't think about who he is not.
Focus on who a person is. And I think in this instance, it's very important to realize, even if you've been married 10 years, there's a chance you haven't thought about who your spouse is like this. You have to sit down and actually figure out certain things. Sometimes it comes naturally, but sometimes you have to put in a bit of work to realize, wait a second, my husband or my wife is not a social person, or it's not that they're antisocial, they prefer one-on-one interaction versus big groups. And unless you understand that, you're going to give that person a hard time for not being like you. And that's again something from our lives. Pam is very life of the party. I'm very like, there's a lot of people here,
I'm gonna go sit over there.
I don't know how to do small talk. Like, you know, I might avoid you if I spot you first in the grocery aisles. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. But yeah, it's a problem. But the point is, I'm not good with small talk. It's not a reflection of my feelings towards anybody. It just means, come, let's have a good conversation, a solid conversation. And I'm like, cool, I'm there. I got plenty to say, got plenty of opinions. But that's my weakness, or if you want to look at it more like my strength is more in personal conversation, and Pam's strength is in like I'm keeping the party going. So know exactly who your spouse is, but in every facet. This is one little facet, okay? Which kind of brings us to the next thing, which is like understanding each other's personalities. Like, and there's a lot of things, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, Enneagram.
This is one of the things that we've actually looked at. It's called Enneagram, and it's just quizzes that you can take, and then you get assigned a number based on the answers for your quiz. And we're actually both number 4, which is in this book called The Romantic, but in some other books or some other versions of the Enneagram, it's called
I don't know, but it explains why we can't get anything done.
But basically, it explains why A, we're screwed, and B,
also why we can't get up in the morning.
And so funny that we're both the same, because a lot of people aren't like with the same kind of personality as them, but we have, even though we're so different, our core motivation, which is what this thing deals with, is, well, who are you at your core? Our core motivation is the same.
And so just also
fours are motivated by the need to experience their feelings and to be understood, to search for the meaning of life and to avoid being ordinary. And that basically sums up our entire marriage.
It really does. But what I want to make emphasis of here is don't be misled by the word romance.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking of the other name for it.
Like romantic is not, we're not talking about this in a romantic sense. We're talking about personalities.
Yeah.
How do we process things? How do we deal with life? You have to know that about your spouse, and you have to accept it, whatever it is. Maybe they go psycho and they control things.
I highly recommend a book like this, or
honestly,
something like this. The other one that we also recommend is, we're going to talk about our work relationship, because I know that that's also mainly what people wanted to know about. That's why we called it How Our Marriage Works, because our marriage and work. But the other thing that we've read and that we also stand with is a book by Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages. And that was a life-changing book for us, because we read it before we were together, each individually, when it came out, and it actually really helped me with all of my close relationships as well, to understand why certain people were expressing love a certain way and why they were not understanding when I was expressing love a certain way. It's about how the 5 love languages of acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time,
and
gifts. Why those are legitimate ways that people express their love for one another. And we, funny on that, we're both also the same. We're both, our high scores were for acts of service, which means that Ani can say, I love you, you're so beautiful, you're the best, 100 times, and it won't like take root in my heart, or it won't like surprise me and make me feel loved quite as much as if he wakes up in the morning and he makes us tea and coffee first, before I do. That acts of service, that act says I love you 100 times. To me, that's my personality. That's what I respond to.
I think we're fortunate in this as well, because I'm going to bring it into the work environment now. When we work together, we make music together. It's a creative environment. It's vulnerable, right? Some of you may work with your spouse, but it's not necessarily a creative environment. Either way, when you work together, there's a lot of communication that happens. And one of the problems can be that communication, can get heated or whatever, or things could get intense. We're very fortunate that words kind of fall off our back a little, because if we did happen to maybe overstep a boundary in how we spoke to each other, or I'm not excusing it, I'm just saying if things got a bit heated, all we have to go do is make a cup of tea for each other and it's all good. I'm joking, it's obviously not okay, but I'm saying we're fortunate because we respond to service more than we respond to words. But what we've had to learn still in that environment is to not take things personally. We're going to say the obvious things. You have to separate work from personal.
Everybody says that. It's way easier said than done. It's not true that you can do it. We struggle with this. We still don't always get that right. Separating work and personal. We don't.
I think you have to, unfortunately, sometimes familiarity causes us to treat the people closest to us worse than we would treat strangers. So we've definitely had to deal with that in our workspace, where we've had to go like, you know what, would I speak to a stranger like that, or would I be as stubborn with a stranger? We don't speak to each other badly. I'm not saying that. I need to just wipe that off the table. I'm being honest, we really don't. It's not an issue. But
I married him because he doesn't get angry either.
We bulldoze each other though, like I just did.
But he doesn't get angry and shout and scream. He's not like that.
We're just both incredibly strong-willed and stubborn, and so in a work environment we bulldoze each other. We invalidate each other's ideas and we bulldoze each other. And so what's very important is for us to imagine if, like for me, if I'm stubborn on an idea and I don't care what Pam says or what's going on, this is the way, my way or the highway, which happens to me and it happens to her as well, then I've got to think about it like this. Would I do this with a client that sat in my studio and was trying to work with me? Would I bulldoze them like that? No, I'd get fired. So you have to actually take a step back and remove familiarity from the equation, because that can be damaging. Treat them with the respect that you would treat co-workers with in a regular work environment, and that's how we get that done.
That's true.
And not just that,
because we don't fight about much in real life. We fight mainly about music and about
work
and
decisions
and how to make the decisions that we need to make creatively, but we don't actually fight about politics. We both, we don't fight about that stuff. We agree. So that's the one thing. And then one of the ways that we figured out how to work together is we have department heads for the process. So, for example, if I'm writing the song as the songwriter, I'm the department head of songwriting. So if it's going to come down to if this is not new for him, he knows this. I know he is in the department head for production. But if it's going to come down to we're in loggerheads about something, and somebody has to make an executive decision, because that's always what people say, but who gets to make the decision? We have lots of micro decisions along the way before there's a final decision. So, for example, I'll say, I'm the songwriter, this is a songwriting issue, I'll change it, or I will not change it, or whatever it is. So there's give and take, but within different departments. Then he's in the department of production. So if it becomes a loggerhead thing and he's like, no, I'm sticking with this drum sound, I like it, I think it's right, I think it's current, it doesn't matter what I do, if he says that it's the right thing, it's the right thing. And we've learned to, it's about validating and respecting each other's space in that way, in their strengths.
It's again about understanding strengths and understanding.
That's his strength, and I'm not going to mess with it the same way songwriting is my strength. So that's how we do the dance, to be honest.
It again comes around to respect, really, because if you know your spouse, if you love them, then you'll respect their strengths, and there'll be a sense of, I appreciate that this is what this person is good at. So it's not a power thing at all. It's I respect that Pam has spent years and years and years and years honing her craft, and I haven't honed her craft personally. It doesn't mean I can't be right and she's always right and I'm wrong. It just means that I'm going to take a step back and remember that and go, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to defer to her in this environment because she's really pays attention to this. And we do have this conversation because, like, sometimes Pam will say my production is a bit glitchy, and I'll be like, wait, have you listened to Diplo in more detail? Like, it's not too glitchy. I'm pulling from influences and things that I appreciate.
And then I say, no, I've listened to so much and it's all simple. It's fine. You're like being way too complicated. It's simple.
But then she has to realize, like, I listen because of my strength. I listen in way more detail than she listens. Except when it comes to your own song, everyone listens in detail about everything all of a sudden, and then it becomes really complicated. So then she has to know, like, I've paid attention to this for the last 5 years of my life, so it's one of those things. And it's important, but also I think what's really important is that if you do disagree, take it upon yourself to convince the other person. If you really can't come to an agreement, it's your responsibility then to convince them of your point of view. And if you can't, then sorry, but that's what it boils down to. But that's what a partnership is as well. If Pam's stubborn about a vocal thing and I'm not and I think she's wrong, but she's stubborn, she doesn't want to change it, she is the one, as the singer, who eventually will take responsibility for that when someone listens to the song and goes, what on earth did you do over there? So I have to respect that she has to take responsibility for that. In the same way, on the music side, someone might go, wow, this producer was a chop. What was he doing with these drums or whatever? Or who mixed this? So I also know in my mind that I have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah, and I must say, knowing that we have different strengths and weaknesses and working around it, we still really listen to what each other says about certain things. Like if he says that pre-chorus isn't ready yet, you need to scratch a little harder and find what you're looking for, because it's not there yet. Even though I'm the songwriter, I'm definitely going to receive that and be like, okay, cool. Like maybe I thought it was fine, but be like, okay, you're hearing something and I'm going to respect that and I'm going to give it a try. It's not like I'm going to be like dogmatic about the fact that, wait, that's my department, you shouldn't be talking about that, I think this pre-chorus is fine. No. We're still a team. I'm going to have respect and I'm going to listen to what you're saying and I'm going to try harder if that's what you're saying I need to do.
And I'd say we took a while to get there.
Yeah,
when
really
we,
took
when
a
we
while.
first started working together, it was a lot of no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
From both sides.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
No,
well,
you're
who's wrong? Okay, I'm gonna go do something else. We allow each other space as well. You know, like sometimes Pam just needs to work on her own, or I need to work on my own. Which nowadays, to be honest with you, with a little toddler running around,
It's impossible.
No, well nowadays that's almost the exclusive way that we work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of healthy, because even though we're working on the same project, we're working separately, so everyone has space. Like one of the most important things of working together in a creative space is to not choke each other's ideas. And if you work separately a little bit, then that facilitates that. Because if I have an idea that might seem a bit strange at first, it gives me time to iron that out before Pam hears it and goes, "You're crazy," or "Actually, you know what? I really like this now that you've worked on it." So give space, and don't be afraid to give space. Take a break, walk away, and leave your. Don't take anything personally in a work environment. It's not personal. You're at work. You're making work decisions about business. Don't take it personally when you finish up for the day and you go cook and now you are giving cold shoulder. Don't do that, Jazz. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Don't be crazy.
It's just music. It's okay. Everyone's
It's
gonna
just
live.
whatever.
It's just work. It's just it's your creative. It's just that thing.
Whatever
it's
it is
okay.
that you do.
It's not everything about your life. And I've also found, you know what? Time and space away from some of your creative decisions is the best thing for them. They're like little children. They need that kind of nurturing from a distance sometimes, and giving it space. And then you come back and you listen. You go, I'm actually into it. I was wrong. Like just sometimes in the heat of the moment and the heat of that, like being creative and making those decisions, you can be headstrong about things, but sometimes giving it a little bit of space, then you can go back and go, you know what, I like this, or nah, I think I was actually really not liking this for a reason, and I'm standing with that. But space, give time, give space, don't make rash decisions as you go.
Ideas are like cooking.
Yeah.
You go and you throw everything in the pot, you chop, you fry, everything's fast paced, and then you suddenly let it sit. If you taste it immediately, you're going to be like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
You let it simmer for a while. You've changed nothing. You literally just let it simmer.
Yep.
Come back to it, you go, oh, you know what, actually what you suggested makes sense, or you know, what I just
something
did.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. In our field of work, in music, honestly, one day I will be like, I hate what I've done here. This is the worst. I hate my life. I won't do anything else. I'll listen to it the next day. Pam will come into the room. What was that?
Number 4.
Pam will come into the room the next day, and I'll just hit play, and we'll go, oh,
all right.
This is nice.
Okay.
This is nice. I'm into this song.
I'm picking this up.
To this very day. This is the curse of our personalities. One day I like our music, the next day I don't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how that works.
It's crazy.
I'd say it takes years of distance before that stops. And I just go, hey, this was good.
Yeah.
I don't know if Lemonade's good.
I have no idea.
Or not. Other than what people say. I hope so. Because when I listen to it, I go, oh, why did I do that? Or whatever, And that's our world.
One of the main things, we'll end with this. One of the main things is, in our marriage, is to honor the Sabbath, which we do take a break, like once a week. do something else, go for a walk, go to the beach, go buy some ice cream, walk around the park, do something else. And on our Sabbath, because we observe the Sabbath, so we don't do work / talk about work, on the Sabbath we try our best to not talk about any work or do anything or in any way create. Even if I feel like I want to write something, I might just jot down the idea, but I'll leave it
like
there.
put it on ice.
Like I don't delve into things on my Sabbath. I let my body like relax, change the subject in my mind, and I let myself relax, and I let us just be married and have a child and enjoy that for what it is. Because I think too many people, first of all, don't observe the Sabbath at all, and you can see it in their hypertension, like they don't know how to relax.
And if you want something that is good for your marriage, everyone says communicate, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Yes, 100%. But if you want something that's really good for your marriage, take a day of rest.
Take a day
together.
Take a day.
I know it's not always possible, but as often as you can, take a day of rest together, because it is so healthy.
Once a week.
It is so healthy. You're spending time together without any tension. It doesn't even matter if you don't work together. This is like a relationship fundamental, I think. Because
just to leave everything
leave
else
somewhere,
where it is, and to just focus on each other, your family, focus on God. That's what the Sabbath is also for, to just have that connection strengthened. And that's one of the main reasons why I feel like in many ways we can laugh and we can breathe easy in our marriage and in our lives with all the crazy decisions and things that we've made, is because we've kind of held on to this principle of keeping that one day a week that is not about everything else.
So that's kind of our pointers and
all those things, and you get us
inside perspective on how things work for us. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it and at least found it to be helpful in some way.
Comments, questions, we're here.